Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the November 9th, 2023 meeting of the Memphis and Shelby County Land Use Control Board. My name is Mary Sharp, and I will be serving as your chair today. We will begin this morning's meeting with a roll call. Mr. Ragsdale, would you please?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Gill?
Here.
Mr. McKinnon?
Present.
Ms. O'Connell?
Here.
Dr. Pritchard?
Here.
Mr. Tolles?
Here.
Ms. Wilbanks?
Here.
Vice Chair Lyles Wallace?
Here.
And Chair Sharp?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Ragsdale. I would like to remind you that copies of today's agenda are located at the right front podium if you need them. If you wish to be a speaker on any case that is on today's agenda, please fill out an attendant speaker's card located at the front podiums. Once you have filled out the card, please bring it up front and hand it to one of our DPD staff members located at the left podium. When that agenda item is called, you will be given an opportunity to speak. At this point, I would like to read our conflict of interest statement. The adopted policy of the Land Use Control Board requires that any member of the board recuse himself or herself from any participation in the discussion or voting on any matter on the meeting's agenda in which he or she may have direct or indirect personal interest. The member shall vacate his or her seat during deliberation on any matter from which they have recused themselves. An abstention may substitute for recusal for the purposes of maintaining a quorum. I would like to now get approval of our minutes from the last meeting. May I please have a motion?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Ragsdale, may I please get a secretary's report for this month and an explanation of today's procedures?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do not have a secretary's report, but there are a couple of things I wanted to note. One, that I wanted to recognize one of our planners who has been with us, I think, almost 5 years, and who has accepted a position in New York City to work on the waterfront as a project manager. I can't remember the exact organization, but Brett Davis is going to be moving to New York and took a position there, so we're excited for him and wanted to wish him well and thank him for all of his hard work over the past few years. So this will be his last Land Use Control Board meeting. And also, I wanted to just note, you could see that we were having some technical difficulties, and we are still having those, and we believe that there's some issues that we cannot solve this morning with that. So what we're planning to do is we cannot present on these screens, but all of the board members have either a hard copy or they have their laptops and they have access to the staff reports. So the planners are going to present the staff reports from the podium and refer that to those so they can all follow along. You won't be able to see those, but if we need to address any questions, we can try to do that. But I think this should allow us to move forward and hear the cases, and we will work through any issues that we have. So thank you for your understanding and patience on that. And with that, I'll go into the procedure for the meeting. At the beginning of today's meeting, we will establish a consent agenda for those items where no one in the audience or on the board is requesting an individual public hearing. After the consent agenda is established and approved, we will move on to the regular agenda. For each case on the regular agenda, the DPD planner will give a presentation. This will be followed by the applicant's presentation and any testimony from others who support the application. The applicant and supporters will be given a total of 10 minutes. Following each speaker, the chair will ask the board members if they have any questions for that speaker. Next, the opposition will be given a total of 10 minutes to present their case. Following each speaker, the chair will ask the board members if they have any questions for that speaker. Finally, the applicant will then have a 3-minute rebuttal period under the same rules. Following all the presentations and after all parties have been heard, the chair will ask if the board members have any additional questions for anyone who spoke. Then the chair will close the public hearing portion of the case, entertain a motion on the matter, discuss, and then vote on the application. If an applicant or any speaker would like to be heard after the conclusion of the public hearing portion of the case, or if a board member wishes to hear any additional testimony from any party for additional clarification, A motion will need to be made along with a second, and then a 2/3 affirmative vote of the board is required to reopen the public hearing portion of the agenda item. If the public hearing is reopened, both the applicant and the opposition will be allowed an equal amount of time to provide additional testimony. After the additional comments, the board will close the public hearing portion of the case and deliberate and take the final vote. Again, if any member of the audience wishes to provide testimony in support of or in opposition to a case, he or she will need to fill out a speaker's card. These are available at the front podium. Speaker's cards are not required of applicants since their names are already part of the record.
Thank you, Mr. Ragsdale. The board is a supporter of community involvement, and we certainly welcome neighborhood comments and feedback. We are respectful of the fact that many of you have taken off work or adjusted your schedules to be here today, but we ask that your comments please be made within the time frame allowed. If there are multiple speakers, please try not to be repetitive so as to make the most of your side's 10-minute time allotment. Lastly, I'd like you to silence your cell phones so as to not interrupt or disturb anyone during today's proceedings. With our procedures now explained, I would like to introduce to my right Ms. Lisa Wilbanks, who will be this morning's consent agenda chairperson. Ms. Wilbanks will read items 1 through 22 as a consent agenda. Once the consent agenda is read, if you wish to discuss one of those items individual, please come forward and give us the item number and we will pull that case. We will then vote on the remaining consent agenda items as one vote, and following the vote, we will hear the cases that were pulled individually. Ms. Wilbanks, would you proceed, please?
Yes, ma'am. Item number 2 has been withdrawn. Item number 3, case MJR 2023-036 in Pleasant Acres. The request is a major modification for a time extension for Storagetown PD located at 900 Reddick Street. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 4, case S 2023-037 in Shelby Oaks. The request is a 2-lot re-subdivision of Lot 1 of the Shelby Oaks Drive subdivision located at 5819 Shelby Oaks Drive. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 5, case MJR 2023-037 in Orange Mound adjacent. The request is a major modification to allow self-service mini storage in Area B of the Lamar Crossing PD located at 2899 Lamar Avenue. Staff recommendation is to convert this to a planned development. Item number 7, case MJR 2023-039 in Binghamton. The request is a time extension for physical closure of a part of the Autumn Avenue right-of-way east of Lippert Street and north of Sam Cooper Boulevard. Staff recommendation is approval with one condition. Item number 8, case MJR 2023-040 in East Memphis. The request is a major modification for approval of a revised site plan to allow 26 single-family attached lots and adjust setbacks in the East End Village PD located at 5476 Park Avenue. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 9, case MJR 2023-041 in Wolf Chase adjacent. The request is a major modification to create a new Area B1 and allow restaurant use in the Appling Farms Business Park PD Second Amendment located on Appling Farms Parkway, approximately 980 feet from Appling Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 10, case 2023-024 in Binghamton. The request is a special use permit for a planned commercial development at 2977 Broad Avenue. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 11, case PD 2023-025 in Valentine Evergreen adjacent. The request is a special use permit for a planned industrial development at 1230 North Watkins Street. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 12, case PD 2023-026 in Arlington. The request is a planned development to allow a retail center at the southwest corner of U.S. Highway 64 and Morning Sun Road. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 13, case S 2023-038 in Uptown adjacent. The request is a 2-lot major residential re-subdivision of Lot 2 in Amos Woodruff subdivision at 696 T.M. Henderson Avenue. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 14, case 2023-039 in Cordova. The request is a 1-lot minor residential subdivision on Ladding Road, approximately 375 feet west of Ladding Lane. Staff recommendation is approval. Item number 17, case SAC 2023-007 in Nutbush. The request is to close and vacate an alley between 3775 Longfellow Road and 3760 Whittier Road. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. Item number 18, case SUP 2023-023 in downtown. The request is a special use permit for a hotel at 100 North Main Street. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions. Item number 19, case SUP 2023-024 in Windike. The request is a special use permit to allow a golf course, country club, and clubhouse in the Conservation Agriculture District located at 8535 Winchester Road. Staff recommendation is approval. Item number 20 has been withdrawn. Item number 22, case SAC 2023-006 in Hedgemore. The request is to close and vacate Minden Road between Grant Street and St. Andrews Fairway. Staff recommendation is hold for 1 month. And that is our consent agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Wilbanks. Anyone now wishing to pull a case number from the consent agenda, please come forward and give us the item number.
Chairwoman, would you show me recused from item number 3?
Okay, thank you. We have pulled item number 1, 6, 15, 16, and 21. The items on the consent agenda will now be voted on with one vote, subject to the recommendation of the DPD. If the consent agenda is approved, only items number 1, 6, 15, 16, and 21 will have full independent public hearings. By voting on the consent agenda, each board member is affirming that he or she has read the staff report and agrees with its findings and, where applicable, its recommended conditions. Can I get a motion, please?
Yes, ma'am. Move to approve item number 3, case MJR 2023-036 as a whole. Item number 4, case S 2023-037. Item number 5, case MJR 2023-037. Item number 7, case MJR 2023-039. Item number 8, case MJR 2023-040 as a whole. Item number 9, case MJR 2023-041. Item number 10, case PD 2023-024. Item number 11, case PD 2023-025 as a whole. Item number 17, case PD 2023-026 as a whole. Item number 13, case S 2023-038. Item number 14, case S 2023-039. Item number 17, case SAC 2023-007 as a whole. Item number 18, case SUP 2023-023. Item number 19, case SUP 2023-024. And item number 22, case SAC 2023-006 as a whole.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion amongst our board members? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. I'm now ready to go to Dr. Pritchard, who is our regular agenda.
Agenda item number 1, MJR 23-33CO, Eads. This is a correspondence to PD 09-317, a major modification to the conceptual layout to part of Area A of Rockgate Center PD at the southeast corner of U.S. Highway 64 and North Reed Hooker Road. Staff recommendation is approval with conditions.
Okay, the applicant, would you come up and give us your name and address, and then we'll hear the case?
David Bray with the Bray Firm, 2950 Stage Plaza North.
Okay, and is there any opposition? I see there's one opposition. Okay, go ahead, staff.
We'll give us one quick moment as we get the projector set up. Oh, this doesn't work. Never mind. Okay, so because our projector isn't working, I've got 4 additional copies of the staff report on the front podium if anyone in the audience would like one. Essentially, this is a major mod to let me pull up my projector. Essentially, this is a major mod to modify the conceptual layout for a small portion of the area governed by PD 09317, which is out on Highway 64 in Eads. It's the southwest corner of Highway 64 and Reed Hooker Road. Essentially, this modification that the applicant is requesting this morning will reform the conceptual layout for a commercial area that, when it was first designed, was in the city limits. This is in the EDC annexation area. It was designed with the assumption that sewer would be available. They've changed the design to make it possible on septic. This is allowed under the outline plan conditions. Staff's concern with it, however, is that, the way plan developments work is that when you record a final plan and actually develop any portion of a PD, the whole PD is locked in. And the remainder of this PD, which was first approved in 2005, then amended in 2009, is to build a large apartment complex, a 260-unit apartment complex, which, as we know, this area has been de-annexed. We've had a sewer moratorium in place since 2017. It cannot be publicly sewered. The applicant's intention as of now is to do a decentralized sewer system, which I can answer what technical knowledge I have on it if the board would like, and I'm sure the applicant will as well. Our interpretation of this under the UDC is that this would require an amendment to the plan, so it would require going back to county commission in this case because it's been de-annexed. So we do not want to, because PDs are locked in the moment any final plan is recorded, we do not want to record a final plan until we know how the rest of this site is going to be sewered. Either, the plan is going to be redesigned to be possible on septic, or they're going to go get the amendment that we have, interpreted the UDC as requiring to do decentralized sewer. So with that, so those are basically the conditions. The major condition, which I believe the applicant would like to discuss, is just that no final plan can be recorded until you either get us a sewer letter, as we know this, the sewer moratorium case has been held through February at the county commission, so that's option A. Option B is go, file an amendment application with us, go to you all, then go to county commission and get that approved. That would allow a decentralized sewer system on the site, so that the apartment complex that is associated with the rest of the PD can be sewered. And with that, I'll answer any questions. I apologize if the screen's not working. That's unfortunate.
Do you have any questions of Mr. Waldrop at this time?
Yes. What does it mean to decentralize? What does that mean?
Sure. So essentially it would be, and like I said, I think the applicant is a little more qualified to answer if you have any specific technical questions, but it essentially would mean that there would be a treatment facility on site, and then there would be an area of land fenced off where my understanding of it is that the wastewater is treated on site at the treatment facility and then distributed across a fenced off area of land, to go into the ground, is my understanding.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're ready for the applicant to make your presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So we're in agreement with everything in the report except for one condition. So Nicholas addressed that. It's condition 7D. We're not set at this point that it's going to be decentralized sewer. As you guys know, the sewer question is up in the air. The sewer question's been a challenge on this project since day one. It got more complicated when the city de-annexed it. There's a sewer line, a City of Memphis sewer line along the south property line of this track. And ultimately, we hope that is the solution moving forward, that we're able to tap into that. But we don't know if we're going to be able to do that, and we don't know what the policy is going to be going forward. Right now, the policy of the current administration is that city sewers can't be extended into the county. But when the current administration tried to get the city council to memorialize that 2.5 weeks ago, they said, no, we're going to wait until the new administration is in place. There's negotiations going on with the new administration. There's also action in the state legislature to better define the requirements of a utility outside their municipal limits. So all of these issues may be resolved, and we understand that. So nothing can happen in areas B through F of this planned development until some sort of issue is resolved. And that's spelled out in condition 5C. It reads, sanitary sewer extension shall be required to serve areas B through F. Sanitary sewers must be available to serve this site prior to the recognition of any phase containing development in areas B through F. We're in agreement with that. We don't have a problem with that. That condition has been in place since this PD was first approved. Also in place since this PD was first approved was condition 5A, which says Area A may be allowed to develop a septic system subject to the approval of the Memphis and Shelby County Health Department. And that's what we're here today in front of you about, is modifying Section A. So originally with the idea of sewer, we had a more intense development on there. Going forward without sewer in that area right now, we've developed a new plan. We can't put it up there for you to see, but you can see it in your staff report. And Area A is not an insignificant portion of this. It's about 20 acres. We've got 5 retail lots. We're ready to move forward with one of them and possibly 2 of them if we can get this approval. Our problem is that if we get this approval and condition 7D is in there, then we've got something that we don't know that can get resolved prior to this PD expiring. It will expire next summer. And we don't know that the city of Memphis issue with the sewer will be resolved. And we don't want to go design a decentralized system for a user that we don't have and then go to county commission to get that situation fixed. We will do that in the future. If a year from now we're still sitting in the same place and we're not going to get City of Memphis sewer or some other entity sewer, then that will be the option going forward. But right now we're ready to develop Section A. It's always been contemplated that Section A could develop on septic systems. And we would like to move forward with that. So we're asking that this board remove condition 7D, and with the understanding that conditions 5A and 5C cover those conditions. It just doesn't put an overly onerous requirement on us. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I know that was a lot of inside baseball.
Any questions of?
Yeah, kind of understanding what's going on with the sewer system, just a little bit. I'm not in depth knowledge of that, but of course, not allowing you to tap into the city sewer, they're requesting that, from what my understanding is, they're requesting that new developers, any new development, have an on-site storage facility underneath the ground, and off-site peak hours would release all of that waste into the sewer line. Is that what I'm kind of understanding?
That's not this sewer basin. That's the Fletcher Creek Basin.
Okay.
So that's not a requirement in this sewer basin. So in this sewer basin, the restriction is just simply that we're a county property and the city's not going to provide sewer to it.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions of the applicant right now? Okay, okay, go ahead.
So you, in Area A, you want to develop 2, did you say retail properties?
Yes, ma'am. So on the site plan that's in your staff report, it's actually laid out for 5. We've got a user right now for 1, and possibly a user for 2. So we're ready to move forward with the site plan application to Office of Planning and Development just as soon as we can get this approval in.
And for those retail, you would be creating septic systems?
That would be on septic system, yes, ma'am.
Any other questions right now? Okay, we're ready to hear from the opposition. We do have a card for someone in opposition. Give us your name and address and your statement.
Sure. Hey, good morning. My name is Sarah Houston, 200 Wagner Place. I serve as the Executive Director of Protect Our Aquifer. We are a local nonprofit here and are thankful for the staff working with our staff and for the opportunity to speak today. We did submit a letter before the last board meeting that was included in your packet today and in August. You know, the wastewater questions are very pertinent to our concerns today. The main thing that we have critical questions to is the volume of septic that is attempted to be permitted and this decentralized system. So the decentralized wastewater system, what that is people flush in toilets, showers, whatever. It goes into this tank, treated slightly, and then is spread across land and sinks into the ground. As you know, our drinking water supply comes from the Memphis Sand Aquifer, which is below ground. So treating our ground with care is very critical to protecting our clean drinking water. So while some of these issues were addressed in the revised case before you, the core issue of the large decentralized wastewater system without technical approval still remains. So we're asking that that system be permitted by TDEC before approving this. And that aligns with staff concerns recommendations. There's a letter from TDEC in here. I believe it's on page 39. This location is particularly sensitive because it straddles the recharge zone. The recharge zone is a special area where our drinking water is highly vulnerable to contamination. And we cite in our letter recent studies about new concerns of the dispersive capabilities of the aquifer sands. And what that really means in layman's terms is that the sands are coarse, you put this stuff on the ground, it's not going to be well treated, and you got low quality water getting into the aquifer. Also, these systems are very sensitive to like bleach and cleaning products. So that means everybody using these systems can't use those normal type of household products or it won't work. And you'll have raw sewage flowing into the ground and potentially into Gray's Creek. So our biggest concerns are really with changing the chemistry of that groundwater. So when you add septic, you add big decentralized sewer systems, there could be potential impacts to the drinking water, and especially individuals that have private residential wells nearby. And if you look at TDEC's water well data viewer, there's about 20 residential wells in a 2-mile radius. So that's people that straight drink from the ground. So this could potentially compromise their drinking water supply. Let's see what else we got in here. We live in a very privileged place where you can poke a hole pretty much anywhere in the ground, you pump the water up, and then that water has to go somewhere. And that's where this whole sewer system debacle is coming from. We understand this complexity of this wastewater issue and that there is a long time need for these services, but Memphis cannot continue to subsidize growth beyond our city borders. We can't allow the sewer extension because we have a consent decree we're operating under because we have been dumping raw sewage into our rivers and the Mississippi River for a long time, and adding more capacity to that sewer system is going to not only be costly for Memphians, for somebody else's benefit, it's also going to impact water quality. And so we really urge the development community, all the developers in the room today that might be listening, to be working with these unincorporated areas to think about what regional growth really means for them. How could they incorporate? How could they build their own centralized sewer systems? That's the bigger question at hand. Unfortunately, just falls on the lap of this current developer. But in short, Protect Our Aquifer's biggest concern is that private residential wells and drinking water quality can be impacted if this is approved as is. We need TDEC involved on permitting the decentralized system, and the septic system needs to be very cautious in thinking about this raw sewage potentially seeping into our recharge zone and Gray's Creek watershed. So with that, I believe I conclude. I'll just add on page 37, it is not consistent with the Mid-South Regional Resilience Master Plan. It is not consistent with the Climate Action Plan. And then 39 goes into TDEC's concerns, and then residents also cite the concerns with the aquifer and their water source. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions of Ms. Houston at this time? Any questions? Okay, thank you, Ms. Houston.
Thank you.
All right, we are ready. You want to ask your question now? Okay.
Yes, I do think that we have to be concerned about this, and I'm a little confused about, I'm not an engineer. I would like to protect, the Gray's Creek, the aquifer, local homes, drinking water. I want to be respectful to the developer. So how is our vote to approve this going to affect the bigger picture? I'm a little unclear about what's in front of us.
So staff's major concern with this, so in the staff report, we say explicitly that the revisions that are in front of you today are an improvement for Area A. They take a design that was only possible on sewer and make it possible on septic. You know, we have no problem with saying that redesign is an improvement. Our problem is that the way PDs work and the way they're handled, you know, through the system is that if you record a final plan and develop Area A, areas E through F are locked in, right? So the minute you record a final plan for Area A, we have that PD, the whole PD forever, you know, and so there would not be any requirement to say, you know, go back in front of any governing body to get approval for the apartment use, you know, and these things, you know, this was originally approved in 2005 and amended in 2009. So we're very concerned about, you know, the rest of the PD, that one, we don't know how it's going to be sewered, and two, was frankly approved by the governing bodies a long time ago, basically locking in that use as vested through a area of the PD that is unrelated, frankly.
So if we approve this, we're basically greenlighting the entire thing to be developed without the sewer really being sorted out. Is that correct?
Yes, I would say that's correct.
Okay.
But I would make this comment that they're limited by the sewer. So their densities are limited by not having sewer. So if they got sewer, if they, which probably will never happen in the county, but let's say it did, or if the county created their own sewer system, then they could develop to a higher density. But the sewer is a limiting factor. So you'd have only super low density development. For instance, these structures are really small, one-story retail structures. They're not going to produce a ton of waste. So does that make sense? So the sewer limit, it's a limiting factor for the density.
Okay.
I think that if we approve this, there really aren't too many controls over what they're doing.
Can we save this discussion for discussion? Sure. Okay. All right. We'll have your rebuttal.
Okay, and I want to address that to some extent. So the plan for areas B through F, as it stands right now, does not work without some sort of resolution to the sewer system. We're aware of that. So, and it's why we feel like this condition is onerous and redundant, because we know that if we get a year from now and there's no movement or there is movement and the city says, that's it, no way, we're not connecting to sewer, Shelby County throws up their hands and says they're not going to develop a system, then we have to come back with an alternative plan. And we will have to amend this plan in front of this board and in front of county commission. And we understand that. That is part of this, because every area in there in B through F, either the density will have to go down or some of those areas will have to be devoted to some sort of decentralized sewer system. And as to the opposition, our last resort is a decentralized sewer system. We have a sewer line on this property that we would like to tie into, and hopefully that will be resolved in a way that we can. Today, we just want to get Area A done. And the requirement that either we have a letter, which we cannot get right now from City of Memphis, that they'll provide that sewer, or a design for a system that we don't know yet what we're going to do. What's going to be our focus? If there is no sewer, what are we going to give up? Are we going to give up Area B and develop Area C and D? Are we going to give up Area F and develop Area B? We honestly don't know yet. And that will be, to some extent, after a study of what the ground could support and what we could do in a decentralized system. So that will shape what we do. And at that point, we would bring an amended plan in here and say, instead of multifamily in this area, or instead of office in this other area, we're going to put a decentralized system in here, and we have TDEC approval, and we're asking this board to amend that plan. Our hope is that we get the sewer worked out. But today, we're just trying to develop Area A. And that's the question in front of you, and we'd like to move forward with that.
Mr. Bray, quick question. As far as I heard you say that you guys have a sewer line already on site, Is the capacity issue stopping you guys from tapping into that sewer line?
No, the capacity is not an issue. The issue is that we're a county property and we can't connect to it because it's city sewer. And they're not providing sewer into Shelby County right now.
Politics. Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? So now we're going to make the decision whether to have the motion as per the staff or take into consideration the applicant's discussion and possibly amend it. What are we looking at?
Yes, Madam Chair, you can get a motion to approve as conditioned by staff and then have this in a second and then have a discussion to decide how to.
I didn't understand.
You can go ahead and get a motion to approve as recommended by staff and a second, and then you can then deliberate and discuss how to treat that. I believe there was one more thing that we wanted to mention if we could.
Okay.
Sure. The thing we wanted to, call out in the staff report too, and again, I apologize that there's no PowerPoint, is that our county engineering office has been very vocally in opposition to these decentralized systems. I know we're not approving a decentralized system today, but just want to call that out as the context. Now, the permitting for these does happen at the state, so you can, think about how much it matters that county engineering is in opposition to these, but they have been very vocally against them. The reasoning is that there have been other counties in the past that these systems go in, they fail, and the county is on the hook because we can't just let the sewage go untreated, right? So that has been their sort of concern, and that's in the staff report. I apologize for not calling that out earlier.
How is that handled? Once it does fail, whose problem is it?
It has to be the county. That's the way it's happened in the past in other places, and I believe in Shelby County as well. You have an apartment complex. If the sewer system, the company, has a problem with it, it's not like we can just stop treating their sewer, right? Somebody is going to have to pick it up, and it does present a liability concern from engineering's point of view, and that's why they've been historically against them.
Thank you. If there are not any further questions from our board members, I'm going to close the public portion of the meeting. Are there any other questions right now? Okay, we're going to close the public portion and we need a motion.
Move to approve agenda item number 1, MJR 2023-033.
Second.
Okay, we have a second, and I know we have further discussion.
Because of the concerns and the possible issues with this, I can't support it, and I feel bad about that. But I'm hoping, with the new administration coming in January, maybe something could be worked out so that there's more clarity on the development with this piece of property, and that we're not approving something that could have some really negative repercussions in the future. So for that reason, I'm not going to support it.
Is there any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. Do you want to do it separately, or did you hear?
I can do a roll call. I didn't hear any notes, but I think it's probably safe.
Yeah, I'll be very honest. I don't know.
Okay, we're out of discussion.
Yeah, we out of discussions, or is it okay for me to discuss? I think we're being put in a position to vote on an issue that's really bigger and larger than us because sewer system hadn't been worked out. It does complicate my decision-making to say, well, okay, if, we set a precedent here today to approve this, and I'm all for development, but if we set a precedent to approve this, where does that put us along the lines for the next development, the next phase, or even the guys down the road that say, hey, I have, 160 acres that I need to develop, and I want to decentralize that, and that's the way to go at that point, and where does that send us as a community, as a county? I live in a county as well, so where does that set the tone for us for future developments? And also, at what point will that be actually treated, the sewer system actually connect so that it could be treated? And I get it, density issues, I understand it's not at capacity. We don't know what this potential user is like on the front end. Kind of conflicted. Please just show me sustained from this vote.
Okay, we are ready to vote.
Madam Chair, I guess, need clarification. Are we voting on this application as recommended by staff? What about are we amending anything? Or?
Well, it would be the vote that we've actually had, so I think we've got to deal with that, but this would be as recommended by staff.
Okay.
Yeah. So a yes would be to approve it, but with the conditions that we have in place.
Okay, everybody understand? I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor, we're going to take
I'll do a
individual vote.
Yes. All right. Ms. O'Connell?
No.
So just to clarify, you had said earlier that you're not supporting. So we're recommending approval of the, this has gotten a little confusing, so just let me make sure, because I think I was hearing something. So staff is recommending approval with the conditions that we have on it. They had requested that you remove some conditions, so a no would be.
As far as my understanding is that staff still has concerns, and by us approving it, we are approving it for future, all of it, not just Area A. If it was just Area A, I would say yes. Yeah. But because it's the entire PD, I'm not comfortable doing that until there's more clarity on the sewer issues.
Yeah. You had the clarity, and so I just want to make sure, so thank you. So, okay, good, thank you. Ms. O'Connell?
Yeah.
Mr. Gill?
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon? You
Abstain.
abstain. Ms. Wilbanks?
Yes.
Mr. Tolles?
Yes.
Dr. Pritchard?
Yes.
Vice Chair Lyles Wallace?
Yes.
And Chair Sharp?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Dr. Pritchard, we're ready for number 6.
Yes. We're ready for number 6, agenda item number 6, which is MJR 2023-038. Staff recommendation is rejection.
Okay, may we have the applicant please come up and give us your name and address, and then go ahead, Mr.
Josh Whitehead, Birch Porter Johnson, 130 North Court.
Thank you. Is there any opposition here before the staff makes their report? Okay, we're ready for you.
Good morning. This is Masana Stagnia. I'm with DPD. The case that I'm going to represent today is a major modification 23-038, which is a correspondence of case zoning 91-106. It is located in 3828 Summer Avenue, and the request is for a major modification to Summer Avenue CP to allow a drive-in restaurant. We have sent some notices, and also I'm not sure if we got any opposition. Let me check because I haven't here. So we got some opposition and also some, and the zoning map shows that it is in CMU2 and CMU1, which is a commercial mixed-use zoning. And also the land use, the surrounding uses are residential single families, commercial low intensity, and also office and institutional. So the recommendation for this land use district and zoning is low impact and intensity commercials, but as the applicant is proposing a drive-through restaurant, we think it's not we think it's not compatible with the surrounding uses, and it is not compatible with the Memphis 3.0 in the future. So it has some incompatibility with the land use, and also since there is an elementary school close to the location, it is a hazardous area if they want to have a drive-through restaurant. And also it is not compatible with the complete street study, which has happened in June 22. So the staff is proposing a rejection for this case. And in case we want to approve it, we have two conditions. First, a final plan set shall be submitted for the administrative approval prior to permitting. And then staff recommends the incorporation of low-impact development practices in the design of the site. And in conclusion, so the proposed use is not consistent with the Summer Avenue Complete Street Study, and the proposed development will unduly injure or damage the use, value, and enjoyment of surrounding property, nor unduly hinder or prevent the development of surrounding property in accordance with the current development policies and plans of the city and county. That concludes my staff report, and I will be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of staff at this time? Okay, hearing none, we're ready for our presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, Josh Whitehead, Birch Porter Johnson. If I may, I'll take the front page of the staff report as a guide to my presentation. First and foremost, I'll have to be honest, we've been working with staff on this for about 2 months, and so when the recommendation was issued late last week, it did come as a surprise to us. On the conclusions, in the gray box in the middle of page 1, I'm going to start with number 2. That makes a conclusion that a drive-through restaurant is incompatible with elementary schools. It's a conclusion, but we do not find any factual bases to come to this conclusion. The school in question, Grandwood Elementary, is 1,000 feet to our east. Conclusion number 3 speaks to the complete street study of Summer Avenue. That is in some detail listed on page 21 of the staff report, and it seems to be based upon the fact that at some point in the undisclosed future, Summer Avenue is going to be reduced from 7 lanes to 4 lanes with perhaps a median. I guess our question would be, number 1, how is a drive-through restaurant incompatible with the 4-lane highway, U.S. highway, any more than it is a 7-lane U.S. highway? But number 2, how long is our property to be frozen until the manifestation of this complete streets study occurs? Conclusion number 4 speaks to the standard that is listed in the UDC for planned developments. Our CP plan is indeed a planned development, but we're not requesting to amend the planned development or ask for a planned development. We are requesting to amend one condition, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. I do need to point out that this property was rezoned to the current zoning in 1991. It has been generally vacant for 32 years since that time. We have an opportunity to fill a user in on this site. It's a Captain D's, and as Captain D's are wont to do, there is a drive-through window. That takes me to conclusion number 1 and the condition that we're requesting to be changed. In 1991, when the city council approved this rezoning, it prohibited carry-out restaurants. And I did try as I could to convince Mr. Zoning Administrator that a drive-through restaurant is not a carry-out restaurant, but we hit an impasse, and so here we are. We will have 18 seats in the restaurant. There will be in dining room dining, but also drive-through restaurants are now prohibited from being designed as they were at one point, where you have two curb cuts, one for the in, one for the out. As you can see on our site plan, we will only have one curb cut. And I think that does address maybe the incompatibility, the potential incompatibility to the elementary school and the pedestrian traffic there too, and the complete street study, that we will only have one curb cut. Also importantly, our buffer requirements are going to meet the UDC to the letter. And finally, we are not aware of any opposition. We did note at the on the last page of the staff report that there were some, that they're not attached. But importantly, we do have a letter of support from Ms. Medford, who is the president of the Summer Avenue Merchants Association, recognizing that this is an opportunity to get a vacant piece of property back online with, in my mind, a very minor condition change, which will involve striking the prohibition on carry-out restaurant, if that indeed what we are considered, but then in exchange for that strike-through, we are lending ourselves to the conditions on page, they begin on page 16, I believe. We will be prohibited from vehicular service, which is oil change establishments, et cetera. Those are currently permitted and could be allowed by right, and we believe that that by right use would be much more in contradiction of the Summer Avenue Complete Street study and whatever conflict there is with Grandwood Elementary. Madam Chair, with that, I am available for any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of Mr. Josh here?
Yes, I have one question. Is this a proposed Captain D's drive-through restaurant? Is that my understanding?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a question for you, Josh. I guess what makes this not spot zoning? Why is this not spot zoning?
I love questions like this. So, well, I guess the question about zoning was in 1991, right? So if there was a spot zone, that would have occurred in 1991, right? When the city council approved this zoning. Spot zoning in Tennessee exists when the proposed use, and again, we're talking about the 1991 decision.
Sure.
When the proposed uses, or excuse me, the uses allowed in the proposed zoning district are incompatible with surrounding uses. We are bounded on at least one side and on the other, if you go down the road, with various commercial zoning. So I think we meet that. Another prong to the spot zoning test is the size of the lot. The Tennessee Supreme Court in Fallon v. Knox County was hesitant to say what is too tiny, what is too small of a spot. And in that case, they dealt with a 10-acre parcel, and that was well over whatever the magic spot is. But in an earlier case, Grant v. McCullough, which is from 1954, the Supreme Court found that a tenth of an acre was a spot. Well, we're well over a tenth of an acre, so we don't know how tiny is too tiny, but it's somewhere between a tenth of an acre and 10 acres. But again, the more important test is looking at the surroundings, and we are surrounded by various commercial uses here on Summer Avenue. One other point, we do have a Sonic restaurant that's a few doors to our west, which obviously is much more vehicular intense and has more curb cuts.
Any other questions to Mr. Whitehead?
Mr. Whitehead, this is similar to the Captain D's on Union, isn't it?
Now, Now, that is a legacy, as we call it, a legacy restaurant. So it does not have the required landscaping buffers.
Right.
But otherwise, it would be a similar situation. We only have one curb cut, so you go around and only access the site from Summer. The store on Union has two, one on Belvedere and one on
One
Union.
on Union, that's right.
And no landscaping whatsoever.
But it's still a very small lot.
It's about a half an acre.
Yes.
We're here at 0.7 acres, so this is a slightly larger parcel.
Well, I think I'm going to support this because of the one on Union, which exists today, and they're always busy, always busy.
Thank you.
Any other questions from board members? Okay, since we don't have any opposition, this is going to close the public portion of our meeting. Dr. Pritchard.
Move approval of agenda item number 6, MJR 2023-038.
Second.
Okay, we have a second. We have a motion. Is there any discussion amongst our board members?
I would just say that there's an enormous number of restaurants within a 9-iron of this site. From Brian's Breakfast to El Pollo Latino, which is my favorite chicken place, to the Sonic, to new retail across the street from Grahamwood. I don't see how this is going to affect Grahamwood Elementary School at all.
I'm like, you hungry over there, man.
Okay, anything else? Any further discussion? Hearing none, I
Sorry,
assume.
before you go for an approval, I would like to say a few words. I think improving a city starts from these points. Yeah, but anyway, we try to make our city better, and we are hoping that you support our decision. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I assume we're ready to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Dr.
Madam
Pritchard?
Chair, that brings us to agenda item number 15. This is agenda item number 15, SAC 2023-004. Staff recommendation, the request is the right-of-way vacation of Lafayette Place located between East Goodwin Street and Lafayette Street. Staff recommendation is rejection.
Are we going to do both of them at the same time as far as calling them? Okay, go ahead.
All right. And agenda item number 16, SAC 2023-005. This is Lombardy Road between South Fenwick and Cherokee Drive. The request is a right-of-way vacation of Lombardy Road between South Fenwick Road and Cherokee Drive. Staff recommendation is rejection.
Okay, give us your name and address, and then we'll hear the case, and then we'll hear the remarks.
Madam Chair, I'm Cindy Reeves with SR Consulting, 5909 Shelby Oaks Drive, Suite 200. Our security consultant, Stuart Frisch, is on a very, very tight deadline. Can he give just a brief presentation? Because he has a drop dead time that he has to leave. And I need his presentation to be heard by you for just a few minutes.
So you want us to hear him before we hear the staff report?
Yes,
Is that
ma'am,
okay
please.
with everybody? Is that okay?
It's fine with me.
All right, go ahead. Give us your name, address, and your presentation, please.
Sure, yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for agreeing to rearrange the run of show. My name is Stuart Frisch. I reside at 6808 Stornoway Drive, Memphis, Tennessee, 38119. I'm the principal and co-owner of Insight Strategic Solutions, and I've been working with the Chickasaw Gardens Homeowners Association for the better part of 2023 on looking for strategic solutions on how to improve this community's safety and security. Before I begin, let me give a brief précis on my background and qualifications. I spent 11 years as an officer in the Israeli military in one of our special mission units. I spent 16 years with the Memphis Police Department, the last 5 of which were as a task force officer with the United States Secret Service, the majority of my time in Homeland Security and counterterrorism. I've operated Insight Strategic Security Solutions since 2012 and am now co-owner. The process that this community has taken unto themselves for the better part of this year has been holistic, intentional, and thoughtful in every regard. I'd just like to give a brief highline version and kind of timeline on some of the steps that this community has taken to protect itself, which I think is unique for many communities in this city. This community has undertaken a complete reorganization of how they see safety and security of their community at their own cost, at their own time, and at no small amount of internal discussion. The community has undergone a complete set of training courses for critical competencies of safety and security to include utilizing de-escalation, utilizing situational awareness, community vigilance, countering active threat training, first aid training to include the American College of Surgeons Stop the Bleed course, as well as a scheduled personal safety and security course to take place on or about the Thanksgiving holiday. Concurrent to this process, this community has undertaken a request for a quote as well as a request for proposal to improve their physical security assets with respect to security guards. That process has concluded. We've additionally undergone an additional process to leverage technology that will help these security guards be able to observe, report, and communicate both to the community as well as to the Memphis Police Department's 911 Center and Real-Time Crime Center in a more timely and effective manner. In addition to that, we've also undergone a separate process to improve the community's technology, surveillance, and security infrastructure with respect to surveillance cameras, which is an ongoing process both this year as well as next year that will improve this community's holistic ability to see what is going on inside their own community, and is also improving and leveraging the Memphis Police Department's Real-Time Crime Center to be able to view what is going on with respect to potential either suspicious or criminal activity taking place within its community. The final question before the community as well as before this group is how we will handle vehicular access control both in and out of this community. What I believe is a win-win, is a win for the community because they will have it will increase their ability to limit what vehicles that are not part of their community to enter their community. And I think it also is a win for the city, where you've got a community that has really undertaken a perfect storm of best case scenario and has not only leveraged their own time, their own bandwidth, their own budget, and their own efforts to protect themselves without utilizing city services such as traffic, such as police services to do so. I think a fewer amount of vehicles on the street will lessen incidents of crime, such as motor vehicle theft and theft from motor vehicle, which, as you all know, are some of the most highly reported crimes in the city of Memphis area of responsibility today. I think that this is a example of how a community is partnering with the city to protect themselves at no cost to the city. This is a project that is being undertaken 100% at the cost of the Homeowners Association. And I think that it is absolutely an example of best case scenario. With that, I'll take your questions.
Any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Has there been an uptick in crime, or what has started this whole process for the neighborhood?
I think what started this whole process was there were some, and I'll have to refer to some of my HOA representatives for the specifics of the criminal incident. There were some specific criminal incidents that took place, as well as a enlarging sense that crime in the city of Memphis is moving in one direction and one direction only, and it's not in a direction that anybody in this room would want it to move into. And I think instead of coming to the city for money and coming to the city for answers, what this community has done is unique. This community looked into itself for both the money to fix the problem as well as for the best practices to fix this problem. And I think that this has been a unilateral process that was thoughtful and holistic within this community HOA, which and I've worked with HOAs all over the city and HOAs all over the country, and this community is unique in their forward-leaning movement on this thing.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm sorry, I have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
How many houses are in this? I'm not as familiar.
I'm sorry?
How many houses are in this community?
I'll have to refer to my HOA representatives for specific numbers.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No? Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much for your time and your ability to rearrange the agenda. Thank you.
All right, we're ready for the staff presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kendra Cobbs, Division of Planning and Development. So since these are companion cases, I'm going to present them together, but I'm asking you to maybe follow along with the staff report, SAC 2023-004, and I'll try to refer to that as I quickly go through the staff report. So this is a request for a right-of-way vacation that is for two different locations within Chickasaw Gardens. The first place being Lafayette Place, which is part of the staff report 004, and that would be the segment of Lafayette Place between East Goodwin Street and Lafayette Street, and then the other one in 005 is Lombardi Road between South Fenwick Road and Cherokee Drive. And as I've stated, this is in the Chickasaw Gardens neighborhood, south of Poplar Avenue, just north of Central Avenue. So part of Chickasaw Gardens, or Chickasaw Gardens as a whole, was platted in 1926 as a part of the Chickasaw Gardens final plat, and you can find that within the staff report. That copy is page 4 in your staff reports. So looking at the plat, you have well over 400 properties. I believe it's like 462 lots that were platted at that time. It also shows Lafayette Place, and Lafayette Place is just north of what was platted at that time as City Park dedicated space, and so Lafayette Place is just north of that, and then also it shows the public park that's in the center of Chickasaw Gardens, and then to the west you have Lombardi Road. So this is primarily the zoning in this area is residential single-family 6. And with that, you have single-family uses, residential single-family uses, and then also the institutional use for what is currently MOSH, Pink Palace Museum, which is just north of Lafayette Place. So with the proposal in Report 4, if you look at page 11 of the staff report, you have the closure plat, the proposed closure plat. It's showing Lafayette Place. It's approximately 15,000 square feet, or just over a third of an acre. And that is from, the closure is from Lafayette Street and then to East Goodwin Street. And you also see the City Park, City of Memphis Park Commission, which is to the south. To the north of that is one single-family property. And also a part of the request would be the Lombardi Road closure, and that is approximately 14,000 square feet. So with the closure request, you do have gates that are proposed for each application. If you look at page 15 of your staff report for 004, it does show what is proposed for the design of the gate. So you pretty much have a wrought iron gate with brick columns. And for this Lafayette Place closure, it is proposed that the gate would swing into Lafayette Place and the opposite end would remain open. And similar in the other requests for Lombardi Road, you have also a wrought iron fence or gate with brick columns, but this will be a sliding gate. So just to conclude, the requests are right-of-way vacations, and it would remove the two segments that are part of the request from the public street. It would remove those from the public street, City of Memphis public street. And it would be removal because of the gates that would be proposed over the street segments. With the gates, it is proposed that it would be emergency access only gates, but also exit only access gate would be an option if a clicker is purchased from the HOA, so that would be for the residents. We know that there have been a number of street alley closures, particularly within Chickasaw Gardens that occurred in 1982. And those are closures that are along the Poplar Avenue portion or entrance into the neighborhood. There is a public park and lake that is at the center of Chickasaw Gardens, and they were platted or dedicated within 1926, along with these streets that are proposed to be closed. So the stated reason for closure is security of the neighborhood. Staff disagrees that a street alley closure is the appropriate response for that. There is concern about traffic flow because closure of these entrances would funnel the traffic to Central Avenue, and it would be 3 access points off of Central Avenue. So all the residents within Chickasaw Gardens would travel south to Central Avenue. Also, anyone who might be visiting the public park, that would be their means of entry or access to the public park and the lake. The Public Works and Solid Waste Divisions have also voiced concerns over service delivery if this is approved. And staff just does not feel like disconnecting from the public street network is the appropriate mechanism for crime prevention and is not sustainable over time for the city as a whole. So lastly, closure would limit access to the park and lake, and street alley closure applications in Chickasaw Gardens have further prohibited access to public amenities, which is, in staff's opinion, detrimental to the greater good. So staff is recommending rejection. However, if approved, there are a list of conditions on pages 17 and 18 of the staff report that we ask that will be followed. And that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Cobb. Any questions of the staff at this time?
How would the public access the park if everything is closed? And what is if there's no clicker provided to the public, how do they access that?
Then it would have to be through Central Avenue, the 3 access points to Central Avenue.
Okay.
All right, we are ready for the presentation of the applicant, which you already had partially presentation. We're going to let you have 20 minutes, but the other gentleman used about 5, so you have 15 minutes, and then we're going to let the opposition have 20 minutes as well. So you got your minutes plus anybody that's in support of you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
I first want to introduce the team. We have Dedrick Britnam on our team, Blair Parker with Parker and Associate, Blair Parker and Associates, Zach McWilliams, who's also with Blair Parker and Associates, and of course, our security consultant was here, which was Stuart Fresh. What I want to say is this: we're not trying to keep the public out. We're not keeping the public out. The pedestrian traffic to this subdivision is extremely important to Chickasaw Gardens. They enjoy all of the pedestrian and bike traffic. They enjoy interacting with all of their neighbors. We're not closing off the pedestrian traffic. We are keeping that open. Central Gardens has paid over $100,000 for weekly maintenance to make sure that that lake and their park, the park that the city owns, is maintained very well so that it is enjoyable for the public and everyone to enjoy. They want people in the neighborhood. They're not trying to wall off anything. When the public wants to come, if they're coming by car, they will come off of Central Avenue. But if they're walking or biking, then they're going to be going through the pedestrian gates. Unfortunately, there's not any parking around the lake, excuse me. So when you do come to the lake, you park on the streets. And the residents have always let people park on the street, walk over to the lake, enjoy the lake, come back over, and that's never been a problem. They haven't tried to post no parking signs or prohibit people from being able to come into the neighborhood by car and be able to park. When they drive to I've already gone through all that. The HOA cares about the maintenance and beauty of the lake, in part for everyone to enjoy. There's still 3 points of access. This is about safety. I'm going to turn it over to our first speaker, who will now be Barton Lynch.
Good morning, I'm Barton Lynch, and my address is 2999 Iroquois Road, 38111. My family and I bought homes in Chickasaw Gardens because we wanted a neighborhood, and we love that the homes are close to each other, and we love the lake and the park. This neighborhood was designed over 100 years ago with narrow streets, no sidewalks, no parallel roads, and a very circuitous street plan. We now have over 350 homeowners, and they are out all the time walking their dogs, taking their children for bike rides, roller skating, and then we have the people who are visiting us who are over in the neighborhood walking their dogs. A lot of neighbors come and walk their dogs and just come and enjoy the lake. If you come into Chickasaw Gardens, we have 3 entrances off of Central, and all 3 of them are a direct, it's the 3 straightest roads in Chickasaw Gardens, directly to the lake. If you come in off of Lombardy, then you are doing a very circuitous route coming through. A lot of times, people think there's a cut through, so if they come in, they're going to cut through to Poplar. Well, there is no cut-through access, and so cars start racing up and down because they get frustrated because the roads are so curvy. And that is very scary for anybody on the road, to have the roads being filled with people racing up and down trying to find a way out. My family and I were the victim of a violent crime in February, and we are lucky that my son is alive. The footage shows that the people accessed Chickasaw Gardens looking for a car to jack, and they were in there 22 minutes driving around. And because it's lots of little curves, there are no right angles to any of the streets, it's very easy to hide in this area. We love having this area open to the public. We love the lake. All of us who ended up buying houses there, we knew this was a public lake, and we enjoy that and we embrace that. But we would really like to have you help us protect the sanctity of this neighborhood and this park. so it's safe for everyone who enters Chickasaw Gardens. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, in support, give us your name and address.
My name is Chelsea Savage. I live at 2941 Robin Road. Good morning and thank you for your time. I've been a resident of Chickasaw Gardens for 5 years now. I've always been an avid walker and have logged countless miles on the streets of our neighborhood since living there. Now that I have 3 young children, ages 5 and under, I often have them in tow, usually with our 2 dogs as well. We moved to this neighborhood specifically to raise our children in a place where they could run down the street to a friend's house, play in the front yard with other kids, or to meet a friend in the cherry orchard to throw a football. Over the past few years, I have felt increasingly unsafe as a walker and a parent due to the increase in vehicular traffic. At a baseline, I would imagine Chickasaw Gardens has more traffic on average than other similar neighborhoods due to the lovely park and lake in the center, visited frequently by Memphians. Our neighborhood does not have sidewalks, leaving pedestrians and cyclists easy targets, especially with the curved roads and blind spots. Since the pandemic, I think the majority of us can admit to using more grocery delivery services and meal delivery services and ordering online more than visiting local retailers. With that, we have noticed a significant increase in service drivers, many of whom who are speeding and unfamiliar with the winding roads of the neighborhood. Just in the past couple of years, there have been several situations where young children on bikes were almost mowed down by cars cutting through the neighborhood at high speeds. I have a 5-year-old that I haven't even begun to teach to ride a bike because the risk of someone cutting through the neighborhood to get their destination quickly and turning a corner too fast is not worth the risk to me. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Association, this year alone, Memphis ranked 4th as the most dangerous city in the country for pedestrian fatalities. Adding the 2 gates at Lombardy and Lafayette, I feel would greatly reduce the amount of unnecessary vehicular traffic from those cutting through and prioritize the safety of all pedestrians and cyclists. I also believe fewer drivers would then travel down Lafayette and Fenwick, reducing traffic volumes on those roads as well, which would be a benefit to the residents of the adjacent neighborhoods. The narrow streets of Chickasaw Gardens are not designed to be major thoroughfares for traffic. In recent years, the city has added countless bike lanes. Are we not aiming for a more pedestrian and cyclist-friendly city? I would imagine so, given that Memphis is part of the Vision Zero campaign. The Vision Zero campaign is an initiative set forth by the U.S. Department of Transportation seeking to have 0 road fatalities using the safe symptom approach, knowing that humans make mistakes and that human bodies have limited abilities to tolerate crash impacts. Cities that adopt the Vision Zero campaign are to consider in their decision-making the safe system approach to manage road infrastructure in a way that keeps this risk low. Encouraging unnecessary vehicular traffic is impeding this goal. Chickasaw Gardens residents are well aware that the park, lake, and tree-lined streets are a source of recreation for residents and non-residents alike. This is in no way to prevent individuals from visiting the park or accessing city streets. Pedestrians will continue to have the same access, and vehicles will still be able to access from the 3 entrances off Central Avenue. I disagree that these road closures would negatively impact traffic flow, at least significantly. Residents will still be able to exit the neighborhood via the Poplar exit or Central Avenue. The countless people I see walking into the neighborhood with dogs and strollers will still be able to do so via the pedestrian gates, and they would not have to walk any further to access Chickasaw Gardens. I know some people are unhappy with their driving route being interrupted as these are public roads. In my opinion, this is no different than the countless coves and dead-end streets in this city that are also public roads but don't allow through traffic. I honestly hope and expect the street closures would encourage more people to get out walking in Chickasaw Gardens, whether they live in the neighborhood or not. I prefer to walk at times when foot traffic is heaviest because safety in numbers, right? Keeping everyone safe is our top priority, and I hope you agree that our proposal is trying to accomplish that. The detriment to the greater good is not limiting unnecessary vehicular traffic in Chickasaw Gardens. The real detriment is further allowing vehicular traffic in a residential neighborhood without sidewalks to continually put pedestrians and cyclists at risk. Please help us proactively protect the safety of all those who enjoy Chickasaw Gardens and our children. Thank you for allowing me to express my concerns this morning, and I appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. Okay, we have 6 minutes and 4 more speakers, so you're going to have to divide that accordingly.
Thank you. Jennifer Williams, 176 East Goodwin Street. I'm only going to address the Lafayette closure because that's the one that directly impacts my family. We are the only home located at that street closure. So in the beginning, when the neighborhood came to us about closing the street, my family was opposed. We felt like it would be a hardship trying to enter and exit if they were going to completely close us off. I'm very fortunate. My husband is extremely social, and one of his greatest joys since the pandemic has been playing his piano in the driveway for the numerous people that come in and out of our community. I think everybody on this side or on our side of the neighborhood that walk in and out know us. They know our cat, they know our kids, they know our cars, they stop, we socialize. So when we sat down with Cindy and the HOA, we wanted our own compromise. I did not want to be trapped in a community where I could not get out if I needed to get out. So the compromise was that the gate become egress only, and that there be a pedestrian gate that would be open just like other parks from dawn until dusk, that would allow us to still socialize with all of our friends on that Cowden side, Joffrey side of the community. Additionally, I will tell you that because of my husband's unique position, he's home all the time during the day. And I'm home a lot, in and out during the day. What we see is the ingress that to get into the community right there is a terrible blind spot. So the people that walk and try to enjoy the community, or even us as we try to back out of our driveway, oftentimes there are I can't believe there has not been somebody hit yet. Because when you come around the corner on Lafayette to get onto Lafayette Street, these vehicles, including our own residents, go so fast. It's ridiculous. They don't stop at the stop sign to make a right-hand turn onto Goodwin. They just fly in and fly over. And I think that this, we felt, was a compromise to make it safer for walkers, to make it safer for us, to back out of our driveway, and so that we can still exit the community if need be, and allow the walkers in and out without stopping. We would not be for this if we were to close it off to our neighbors. We wouldn't be for that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If we got 3 other speakers in about 4 minutes. 3 minutes. So a minute per speaker. Name and address, please.
I'm Jared Wilder, and I live at 225 Lombardi with my wife and 2 children. And we're here today to voice our support for the closures. We believe the closures will create exponentially more safety. We are a very unique neighborhood. It has a magic. There's a reason all these people are here today. The place is extraordinarily special. The park is special. The park is a pedestrian park, which is a city park that has not a single parking spot. You are not allowed to park on the curb at the park. So the violent crimes that we're enduring, that other people are enduring, are all part of it. But for me, I'm here today because I want my little boys to be safe in the neighborhood. And by gating these with pedestrian access, we're going to create safe zones where we're not going to have the modern world impede on a neighborhood that's just not designed for it. We came about in the 1920s. We have windy roads, as you could imagine 100 years later. Our landscape, our trees, we have blind spots everywhere. It is a magical place to walk in the shade. But in the modern world, with today, all the deliveries, everything that we've gone to, the Amazons, the Ship, the Uber Eats, we are getting people speeding through the neighborhood at terrifying speeds, and we are regularly having arguments in the streets with people who are driving recklessly. We are regularly having close calls. And this is going to enhance the experience for everyone who uses it in and around the neighborhood. And I truly believe that if we do this, we are going to save a life or someone being injured in a way that will negatively impact them for the rest of the life that they have. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We have two more speakers. 4.
Good morning. My name is Siobhan McDonald. I'm at 182 East Chickasaw Parkway. I live on the lake, and lots of neighbors come in and park right in front of my street or house to go and enjoy the lake. And we welcome everybody to come and enjoy the lake. I just wanted to come up here and voice my support for everything that everyone has said. I think that the street closures will enable our security that is already in place, our security guards, to monitor those entrances and prevent people from coming in and stealing cars and shooting at people. Recently, we've just had an uptick in those types of events in our neighborhood, and we are trying to keep close tabs on it and monitor the vehicles that are coming through so that we can keep our children and families safe, and so that we can keep walkers and runners and bike riders safe. And I appreciate your time listening to me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have 45 seconds for the last speaker, Stuart Frisch. Stuart Frisch, pardon?
That was our security guy.
Okay, all right, okay, gotcha. Okay, thank you. We are now ready for the opposition to speak. Give us your name and address.
Yes, it's still morning. Good morning, Madam Chairman.
Okay.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Lou Wardlaw. I'm in Martin Tate Morrow in Marston, 6410 Poplar Avenue, Memphis, Tennessee. I'm going to start from the get-go to say that many of us know people that live in Chickasaw Gardens. They're friends, some in Casey's family. We've been there. It's an iconic area in Memphis, but that's not what today's vote is about. I represent other Memphians, many of whom we know. I represent the Neighborhood Association, the Fenwick Road Neighborhood Association, Humes Heights Neighborhood Association, Lombardy Road neighbors, and many other neighbors, over 50 in that area. And they're all here opposed to this road closure. In 1926, you heard staff say, and it's in your staff report, the original developer, which was some 450 lots, it's now smaller. The Chickasaw Homeowners Association is smaller than the development that was created in 1926. As part of that, they platted these out as public roads. They platted out this system. It's one of the reasons it's an iconic neighborhood in Memphis. It's been here since 1926. They put that lake there. They dedicate it to the public. It's our lake. It's Brown Gills Lake. It's Chairman Sharp's lake. You don't have to live in Chickasaw Gardens for that to be your lake. It's a public lake for the city of Memphis. It's a public park on public streets. I don't have to ask your permission to go to that lake, to walk my dog, to see the ducks, to bring my child. I don't have to ask permission to park there. It's a city street. I get to do that. What is being done here is to change the dynamic of all of that. There are a lot of reasons to oppose the application, but the closing of the city streets is bad planning. The blocking off of city parks, public parks, is bad planning. It's really as simple as that. This park is an amenity for all of us. And it's easy to get to by those streets. It's walkably easy to get to. It's drivably easy to get to. I live in Central Gardens and still find myself at Chickasaw Gardens at that wonderful amenity. The applicant's security consultant stood up at the very beginning and talked about community. He used the word community several times. Well, he's speaking of one community. He's speaking of the Chickasaw Homeowners Association. Unless you belong to the Chickasaw Homeowners Association, you are not a part of the community as defined by him. He did say, and I agree with him on this, that community, as defined by him, is attempting to act unilaterally to protect them. It's not how we do it. It's not to be done unilaterally. I applaud them for the training. I applaud them for the vigilance. I applaud them for those efforts. But we don't wall ourselves off and lock away the rest of the world. We don't shut off city streets. We don't go one by one through neighborhoods and lock ourselves off. I'm in Central Gardens. Does Belvedere lock itself off? I'm not going to be part of Memphis when I'm in this wall. I'm in Mud Island. We're going to lock off Mud Island? People here walk on Mud Island all the time. Well, we just closed that gate. You can come. You can bring your dog to the pedestrian gate until dark. We don't need you jogging your kid here after dark. We don't need you coming down here after that. Orange Mound's one of the oldest neighborhoods in the city. Does Orange Mound get to say, we're going to close this off? We're going to make an island of protection amongst ourselves. That's not good planning. It's not the way it's to be done. My clients suffer from the same crime problems that we're all having in the city of Memphis. You've heard about crime rising and Amazon trucks rising. We order too much Amazon, we order too much Uber Eats, and the crime is overwhelming. The answer is not to shut off islands in this city of Memphis. You don't encapsulate neighborhoods to close out what you don't want. This government, and this is the first step in this process, you as a governmental body are here to protect these public streets, here to protect these public parks, and here to protect the neighbors who aren't defined in that community of Chickasaw Homeowners Association. You've even heard one neighbor stand up, and I respect her very much for what she said. We didn't want to block off everybody. We wanted to make sure that we could get out and we could have access. So one of the things they've done to protect themselves is while blocking out the world, you can buy for a price a clicker that'll get you out of this street. You heard Ms. Reeves, for whom I have deep respect, stand up and say, we're not trying to lock anybody out. We have this pedestrian access. You're riding your bike. You've got your child on the back. You got to stop, open up the gate, close the gate. You better hope it's before dark, because if it's after dark, you no longer get to go to that public park that way. You've got to go around to Central Avenue, which in many instances could be as much as a mile. It's bad planning. It's wrong. I was very appreciative of the staff report. I think it went through that in great detail. We've appreciated the opportunity to present it. There are going to be several other speakers speaking on this topic on our part, but we respectfully ask for your rejection of both of the applications today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Julie Green. I live at 2770 Iroquois Road, Memphis 38111. I've been a homeowner in Humes Heights, the neighborhood just to the west of the proposed closure at Lombardi and Fenwick, for 18 years. Our family walks and bikes over to Chickasaw Gardens often, using Lombardi, and I use those roads frequently to pick up and drop off my son's friends who live in Chickasaw Gardens. Our property values in Humes Heights, Fenwick, Lombardi, and Joffrey are directly tied to having quiet, residential road access to a public park less than a mile away. The Humes Heights Neighborhood Association opposes these gates and agrees with the opinions that this request is nothing more than an attempt to continue to turn Chickasaw Gardens into a private gated community wall by wall. This sets a precedent that we as a city shouldn't support. Allowing this closure will violate city codes and accessibility plans, in addition to adversely affecting the surrounding area's property values, traffic patterns, and safety. If ingress and egress is limited to Central, it will increase traffic and risk of accidents in our surrounding neighborhoods. If Chickasaw Gardens feels their roads are unsafe for pedestrians, they should have discussions about adding sidewalks, not gates. The so-called offer of a pedestrian access point that they say they will unlock from dusk to dawn is not a real solution. There is no way to guarantee the gate will be unlocked consistently. Regardless of that, we all know people who exercise outside those time frames. Eliza Fletcher was running in the pre-dawn hours on Central when she was abducted. If we learned anything from her untimely death, it's that all Memphians, not just those in expensive neighborhoods, deserve a safe path to exercise no matter what time they choose to do so. If these gates were added, someone in the area who wants to walk through Chickasaw Gardens with their family after 4:30 in the winter would be forced to walk to Central, a 5-lane road with heavy traffic during rush hour. Chickasaw Gardens says their need for additional security is the main reason for this request, but the idea that closing off 2 more residential streets will magically make them safe while leaving all openings to Central is ridiculous at best. At one point, there were over 10 separate points of entry into Chickasaw Gardens. Today, there are 5, and now they're asking you to reduce that to 3. If the residents want to live in a gated community, they should move to one that already exists. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Allison Crone, and I live at 2826 Lombardy, at the corner of Lombardy and Fenwick. My husband Alan and I have lived in that home for 18 years, although we have lived on Lombardy 2 separate times during our marriage. Our driveway is across the street from the proposed gate closure at Lombardy, and that's where it would be blocked off. We raised our 3 children in the neighborhood, taking Christmas and Easter family photos at the lake. Our kids learned to ride their bikes and then learned to drive a car on those streets. And we walk and drive through Chickasaw Gardens on an almost daily basis. The proposed road closures at Lafayette and Lombardy are at odds with numerous city and county laws and initiatives, including the connectivity required by the Memphis and Shelby County Unified Development Code, Article 5.2.4, which establishes for new developments that roadways should be permanently open to the public and that existing streets in adjacent or adjoining areas shall be continued in a new subdivision. Clearly, Chickasaw Gardens is not a new development, but the reasoning behind the rules still apply. The City of Memphis and Shelby County Urban Design Guidelines, final draft of December 2022, emphasizes the need for infrastructure that supports bicycle connectivity, pedestrian safety, and accessibility. The City of Memphis Park Services Master Plan 2020 supports the 10-minute walk campaign, emphasizing the importance of public park accessibility, which these street closures would restrict. Last but not least, the mission of the Land Use Control Board and the Memphis 3.0 plan, adopted by this board in 2019, emphasize encouraging the development of vibrant, healthy urban streets and open spaces while not limiting access to public areas. The closure proposal seems to suggest that so long as there is some means of ingress into the neighborhood, that is sufficient access to the public streets and the public lands therein. Some means of access is not the standard in any of the plans I just mentioned. In addition to being inconsistent with the plans, funneling virtually all commercial and personal vehicle and pedestrian traffic onto Central Avenue will increase traffic congestion and risk to pedestrians. There is less than 300 feet between the entrance to East Chickasaw Parkway, West Chickasaw Parkway, and Fenwick Avenue, with only the center lane on Central for turning going in both directions, funneling all the vehicular traffic and all the pedestrians trying to walk inside the park into those entrances, plus Goodlet at the light, is not feasible. Finally, I am no stranger to crime myself. I did not grow up here. I chose Memphis as my home. Since moving here, my car's been stolen 4 times, my home's been invaded twice while my children were in the house, and my parents were robbed at gunpoint in their garage. Yet I love Memphis and have chosen to live here. The precedent that this case would set, if the closures are approved, would mean that every neighborhood with the resources and means can close itself off in a vain attempt to prevent crime, leaving the city a patchwork of little islands of those few and all the rest of us. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one more. Name and address.
My name is John Joyner. I live at 127 South Fenwick Road. My wife and I have lived on Fenwick Road for 39 years. During my lifetime, 4 or 5 access roads to the Chickasaw Gardens neighborhood and the public park within have been closed. Now, the Chickasaw Gardens Neighborhood Association is proposing closing 2 more. During my residence on Fenwick, 2 access roads were closed. One, the Tilton Avenue or Tilton Street off of Central was closed. At that time, the Fenwick Road Neighborhood Association, which I am representing, made a deal with someone from the association, from the homeowners association. It was just a gentleman's agreement. We felt the closure of that street, Tilton, would not affect seriously access to the public park. But we agreed not to oppose that closure if the homeowners association would maintain the reverse frontage. My street backs up to Chickasaw Gardens. We see the backyards. Well, we could see the backyards if there were not a big wall across the street. And with a few exceptions, the homeowners on that street in Chickasaw Gardens, Cherokee, do not maintain that reverse frontage. We have weeds, shrubs growing into the street about 3 feet. We call the code enforcement. Nothing ever happens. The agreement was that the homeowners association would take care of that if we did not oppose that closure. Aside from setting a bad precedent for Memphis neighborhoods throughout the city, the Chickasaw Gardens Homeowners Association proposal is problematic in 5 areas. Number 1, crime. Since January 1st, 2023, a total of 11 crimes have been reported in Chickasaw Gardens for the year. These are reported in the Daily News Crime Report. 3 thefts from motor vehicles, 2 vandalism, 1 aggravated assault, 1 carjacking, 5 counterfeiting and forgery. Closing 2 public roads will not reduce this crime. It doesn't sound like much of an uptick to me. Traffic. In our many years of running and walking in that neighborhood, my wife and I have not observed any speeding cars on these roads. In fact, we've observed comparatively little traffic at any time, day or night. The dawn to dusk gate, our experience with agreements with the Chickasaw Gardens Homeowners Association lead us to believe that the pedestrian gates will eventually be permanently locked, and that's what we predict. Central Avenue is not an acceptable alternative because the entrance roads are too far out of the way and with dangerous traffic and intersections. And other than that, I simply would like to second all the other opposition speakers. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any questions of any of the opposition right now? Okay, hearing none, we're ready for you to present your rebuttal, applicant.
Thank you. I've been working with the Chickasaw Gardens Homeowners Association for over a year. This is not something that we just randomly said, oh, let's close these 2 streets. As you can see, we've hired security consultants. We've also hired a traffic engineer that will have his report done next week. We want to keep everyone safe, not just the Chickasaw Gardens. We want the neighbors that are walking in the adjacent neighborhoods not to have to carry a stick when they are walking through the neighborhood, just so that they feel a little safer while they're in there. We've had neighbors say, we're glad that you're trying to keep the neighborhood safe. And that's the objective, is just, the focus is about safety. The gates will not be closed. You don't have to stop to open a gate to get into the park and into the neighborhood. The park is closed at night per the city ordinance. The gate will remain open 30 minutes after dark so that you don't get you don't have to go all the way to Central. Sidewalks are not an option for this. And I want to go ahead and call Jeff Savage to finish up our rebuttal. And if we have some more time, I'll say a couple more things.
How many minutes do they have?
Good morning. I'm Jeff Savage. I live at 2941 Robin Road. For the record, the Park Commission rules set the hours for the park from dawn to dusk. That's not an HOA deal, as we've all discussed ad nauseum. That is a public park, so we have no control over the rules of the hours. And as our consultant just said, the gates will be unlocked. I would even propose putting in a photo cell on the gates with a locking mechanism with a timer. We'll also have 24-hour security, so if a gate is locked, maybe we can post some signage to call security, let me out. But anyway, that's all sort of conjecture. As far as the crime argument, we did not do this haphazardly. 90% of our neighborhood survey was in favor of this, mainly for the pedestrian safety. As my wife mentioned, we are number 4 in the United States in vehicular deaths. That is unacceptable by any and all measures. Excuse me. Further, we agree with staff's comment that this is not a sustainable remedy to reduce crime. This is a